Hi, this is E.T. A very popular, sometimes necessary preoccupation is predicting the future. Will the market rise or fall? Will the polar ice caps melt? What else? Will the world end? Will aliens drain the oceans? Well, aside from biblical prophecy, there have been those who have predicted the future, sometimes accurately, using different sources of information. Some got their info from, well, a spiritual or perhaps intuitive source. I'm thinking of Nostradamus, Edgar Cayce. Some have used a generalized study of history to predict the future. I'm thinking of George Santayana. He's the one who said, "Those who cannot remember the past are condemned to repeat it." And there are others who have combined their skills in mathematics, their intuition, and simple observation in order to predict things that range from the price of hog bellies in, say, 2024 to the odds that in any particular year a nuclear bomb will take out a city. It is this last group that we're going to look at today. Men who've predicted the future by observing developments in science, technology, business, politics, and how they saw the coming 21st century from their vantage point in the mid-20th century. This here is Valdemar Kempfert, former director of the Museum of Science and Industry, Chicago. He was managing editor of Scientific American, and also Popular Science Monthly. In 1951, in the book 50 Years of Popular Mechanics, Kempfert wrote a chapter. It was entitled The Miracles You'll See in the Next 50 Years. Now, here's what he predicted, and you be the judge on how accurate he was. Prediction 1. The burning of coal will be prohibited. Homes will be heated with the electricity only, and that will be generated by solar engines. Kempfert notes that, in theory at least, 5,000 horsepower fall each day on 1 acre of land. Now, factories that need more power will use electricity provided by gas generators. Now, that gas, he said, will come from, I'm using his words, sealed mines. What are those? No explanation. Point 2. The U.S. will have expansive, double-decked national highways. Keep in mind, he's writing this in 1951. There is no national freeway system at that time. He said these new highways will have 2 decks, the upper for very fast, non-stop traffic, and the lower one for cars that need to stop and shop or whatever. And in the cities, there'll be a 3rd level for trucks and business vehicles. Now let's stop here for a minute. Kempfert, who was correct in predicting the demise of coal, it's not gone totally, but it's on the way out, and the growth of gas power. But he's very vague regarding what kind of gas. What's he talking about? Sealed mines. Methane? Maybe. He never mentions today's popular natural gas. His prediction of a national highway system did come to be. That was the result of President Eisenhower's, what was it called? Federal Aid Highway Act. That was 1955 or 56. But, as you know, we do not have decked system of highways for fast and slow traffic. Regarding nuclear versus solar power generation, Kempfert was writing at a time when proponents of nuke versus solar energy generation were fighting it out for congressional support. and he wrote at length about nuclear power's dangers and prohibitive costs. As it turned out, Congress and the president were not interested much in solar, so for a while nuclear prevailed, and solar was forgotten for several generations. Now, did you notice that Kempfert never mentioned wind power? Oh, I should mention, he did predict accurately that nuclear energy could generate power safely and efficiently for ocean-going ships. And he said no ship is going to have nuclear power until the 1970s. Well, we know now that the Navy powered a submarine. It was the USS Nautilus, beginning in 1955. And today, most submarines and aircraft carriers are powered by nuclear energy. Well, let's go on. Kempfert saw urban neighborhoods of the early 2000s as designed in concentric circles around a central airport. Most of the houses, he said, will have 8 rooms. These houses will be built of mass-produced new alloys and plastics, but they'd be assembled on site. He said brick, wood, and stone will be gone by 2000 because of the cost. He writes, and I'm using his words, synthetic in the best chemical sense of the term. In other words, everything in the house, including the house, is synthetic in the best chemical sense of the term. Well, let's go on. These houses will all have air conditioning, plumbing, indoor bathrooms with showers. All appliances will be electric. Now, this may sound not like any great prediction, but keep in mind he's writing in 1951, where many of these things, including an indoor bathroom, are considered a novelty. The cost of this house in 1951, he said, would be $5,000. Translated into 2021 dollars, that would be $57,000. Despite the modern cost of materials to build the house, Kempfert said it would be guaranteed to last only about 25 years. Because, he said, in 2000, nobody wants a house to last any longer. As for items used day to day, Kempfert thought that men in 2000 will not be shaving with razors. They'll prefer instead to apply a cream, as you can see here, and wipe it away with the whiskers. And the housewife, by the way, that's something novel today. She will cook and serve on plastic dishware and cookery that can withstand boiling temperatures and later be washed down the kitchen drain under a superheated 250-degree Fahrenheit spigot. She'll clean her home by simply turning on an inside faucet, grab the hose connected to the faucet, and spray the hose water onto the furniture, the drapes, the floors. The water, having cleaned everything that's made of synthetic material, will then flow down a drain that is located in the middle of the floor. It's covered by a plastic rug, after which the little woman will turn on a blast of hot air that dries everything. She will no longer cook in the conventional sense of the term, but simply reheat food that is delivered to her frozen in bricks. She'll use the electrical industrial stove, a product, he notes, from World War II technology. Kempfert says, and I quote, "It never takes her more than 1/2 hour to prepare an elaborate meal of several courses," unquote. She's using what we call today a microwave oven. By the way, Kempfert, using statistical data assembled in the 1940s, assumed that population increases would lead to mass starvation in the 1960s. This is something that the economist Thomas Malthus saw in the early 19th century as inevitable. Well, thinking as he did, Kempfert predicted that most foods would have to be created in a laboratory, including meats. They would be comprised of sawdust and wood pulp, plus, listen to this, the discarded table linen and rayon underwear. All of them would be mixed together and converted in chemical factories into candy, which would likely keep most people sugar-free. That's just me. How accurate was Kempfert in this last round of prediction? Well, despite it being a good idea and having been a design for towns throughout history, the concentric circled city has not come to dominate in any city in the world that I know of. And few, if any, urban dwellers would opt for an airport at the center of town. But his description of a post-20th century house with the accoutrements including air conditioning, electric kitchen appliances. Remember, that's an unlikely combination for many mid-20th century Americans. Well, that turned out to be pretty accurate. Well, except for the price tag. Do you remember he said it would cost $5,000? In other words, a little under $60,000 in 2021 money. That's way off the mark. As for the disposable plastic dishware, melting down the drain under temperatures hot enough to broil steak, and then it would all go into streams and rivers, that remains as unrealistic as you can get in today's environmentally minded world. Oh, his fear of the worldwide starvation by 2000, actually he said it would start in the 1960s. Although it was a strong probability based on what everybody knew in the early 50s, that didn't arrive. Well, at least not yet. And that's because of the Green Revolution, itself a near miracle of science wrought by one Norman Borlaug and his associates. Now, you don't know that name, do you? You know a lot of so-called celebrities, but not Norman Borlaug. Well, you should. And so far, no inventor that E.T. is aware of has designed a house complete with an indoor fire hose and floor drain to allow the woman to spray clean all her rooms. Also, she'll have electric appliances in there, like radios. What happens to those? As for his other predictions, men still shave with razors, despite the occasional appearance of a dilapidatory cream. Some men cultivate that designer stubble using an electric trimmer. And the microwave, yeah, it does exist, but it doesn't cook meals for most people. It serves to mostly heat up coffee and leftovers. So far as I know, we're not reheating frozen bricks of synthetic food, although we are seeing questionable meat substitutes. So, how does E.T. rate the predictions of Kempfert, the prophet of science? Well, not very high so far. He had a few minor hits, but a greater number of strikeouts. But we're not done yet. Kempfert made other predictions that, well, I thought were home runs. And we're going to talk about all that in the Prophets of Science Part 2. So make sure you watch. This is E.T. If you have not done so, subscribe. Hit the like button and the bell icon. That bell icon will notify you of future uploads. And type in the comments below. And if you would, share these videos on other social media. Thanks.